This is Group A, Vickie and Andrew. Our question says, develop a simplified file sharing application that utilizes Google Routes API to provide route suggestions and Google Distance API to calculate the distance between the starting point and the destination. Assume each kilometer is equivalent to 1000 units for distance calculations, and the hint is do not use databases for data retrieval. So the question limits us from using databases. So we are going to develop this application. So here we started by creating a folder on our documents that is in Group C, and it is called the Group A Distribution Systems Development. And the folder, we dragged it and dropped here to our Visual Studio, which is our code editor. The Visual Studio Code is for writing our codes, basically. So after that, we are set to start. Then we open the new terminal. After opening the terminal, we created a virtual environment by using a command py space -m space then. You see, that is to create a virtual environment. Then we added a virtual environment name after putting space, that is Group A. So when I say Group A, I mean our virtual environment, which is here, Group A. See? As you see, it's under C, users and documents. So inside the virtual environment, we navigated through the command cd, and then we did also ls to see the files or view the files and folders that are inside our Group A. Then after that, we navigated the scripts, and that is where we activate our batch files using the command activate.batch. So after activating the batch, we went outside the script using the cd ... and that is where we created our project. So before the creation of the project, we installed Django using the command that is pip install Django. And when you are installing anything online, especially on Visual Studio, you must be connected to the internet throughout. That's when you will be in position to add those plugins and all necessary applications you need. So after installing Django, we went on to create the project, and the project we created is file_sharing. So we created a project also, Django-admin-start project, and then we gave the project name. The project name was what? File sharing. And that's how we created that. Now, after creating the project, now inside the project, we have to navigate and create our application now. And that is called the file sharing app, which is here. Okay. On command Django-admin-start app, and we put the file application name, which is file_sharing_app. Now, since we are limited from using the database, there's no need for making migration or even to migrate, because we are not going to use any database. that is what happened. So we had to skip that step basically. Now, after creating the project, we ran the first server, and after running the server, Python opy space manage.py and space run server. So our first app was displayed when the server successfully. Yeah. So after that, we went to our settings.py, where it comes by default. The system auto generates it automatically. That one we must accept. So inside this module, we have installed apps. So we had to add our application that we created, which is file sharing. Yeah, we basically added it to what was already created by the system so that it recognizes clearly. I've highlighted so that you can see. So we're not going to tamper with anything here. Template, Django, what, backend. We are not going to, but in case it needed a database, that's when we shall have to tamper with some issues here. So we come to and create the URL now. The urls.py, this is what we had to add. As you can see, the URL pattern, there are some two imports here that we did. For example, path and views. As you can see from the top, what it states is from django.url, then from .import views. So this means from this very module, we have to import what? The views to be accessed. That's the meaning of this dot. So after creating the URL patterns, we have paths, those two paths as you can see them. There's a one for home, and then we also have the one for calculating the distance. So this method is what we created inside our application under our views.py. So that helps us create that. Maybe I will explain that later after. So much as there is another method, but we chose this one specifically for this part. Then we went to views.py. Under views.py, yes, there were some imports at the top here. It is created by default by the system, but we had to include redirect as one thing. Now the render will render the template, then the direct will redirect the request. That is it. So we have some requests here. We have home. This one returns to home, and then we also have home.html. This is how we created most of those templates basically. As we're moving step by step. Yeah. So that's under file sharing app eventually, and the errors.html, errors.html, html.home, distance. This is where we also define exactly what we're supposed to generate in the final display. Yeah, basically, as you can see, this is what we created. Now So after this, I wouldn't want to go so much into this. I wanted us to go to what we are supposed to do in order to call what? Our system in order to run. We are going to go to terminal and we are going to start putting commands that will help us run our we already there. So let's go to cd space group A. Yeah, we had already called in earlier on. Then we move to the next command, which is cd, where we are going to call now our application file underscore sharing, and then we strike enter, which takes us to our application. Then we are going to instruct it to run. We are going to type the word py, then we manage. After managing .py, that is Python, we give a space and we say run server, and then we strike enter. So it's going to run a couple of instructions, and eventually our application is now running. And when you see here below, we have a URL or a link which we are supposed to click in order to redirect us to a website to test our application, to see that it responds. When you say follow the link, and then follow the link to open the application. I don't know why it is taking time to do it, but this is where we are supposed to run it from eventually. I know it takes some time, but it will run. It will run. Here we shall be able to see our application running and the interface that it will bring. It's a basic interface, but it's worthy the efforts that we have put in place. Yeah. So hopefully it helps us run. Hopefully it helps us run before time locks us out. Wish I could copy this if possible. That's the only unfortunate bit, I can't copy it from here. But if we open a browser and then we type that URL http //127.0.0